Hi, I'm Christian, and this is my update for October-ish of 2020. Let's get started. We're going to talk about social and fun things, and then projects, and then productivity, and then health, and then I'll talk about next month. First of all, let's talk about VR. Virtual reality is incredible. It's solving this problem that I was thinking about earlier in this year when COVID first started, of how you can create presence virtually, how you can feel like you're in the same space as someone else. I think there's so many problems with Zoom of one person talking to a lot of other people and not creating space. But when I'm in VR, I feel like I'm physically present with someone else. And there's all of these little cues, like seeing who's paying attention to other people in the group, or hearing people who are closer to you louder than you do people who are further away, or playing in the space, where in Zoom, it's really just the chat as the other channel of communication. But in VR, you can see people's hands, and you can see where they are, and you can see physically where they're positioned and how their body's positioned. So I've just had a blast playing all these VR games with Justin and Sophia, my siblings. I showed them my headset, and the next day they each, practically the next day, they each bought their own headsets. And so we've been playing golf, and putt-putt golf feels like golf. It's amazing. I feel like I'm physically there with them, and I look around and I feel like I'm actually at a putt-putt golf place. And this game, very similar to Overcooked for the Switch, where you're making these sandwiches called Cookout. And my memory of playing this game with them is that I was physically there with them, remembering it. It's not like a video game or a film where my memory of watching it is I was on the couch and I had their controller in my hand and I was watching it on the screen. Or I went to a movie theater and I was watching it on a big screen. My memory of playing Cookout with Justin and Sophia is that Justin was standing across from me and Sophia was standing to my left. And we were all making sandwiches together. We were in this little house. It's a medium, unlike film and unlike music and unlike books, it's a medium unto itself. I feel like I was in a different place. It's incredible, and I think it's an incredible tool. I think that for the goal that I had of starting virtual movie nights, there's a list of 100 of the best films that I've been wanting to work through. I'm thinking about ways to host that in VR because I can bring together all my friends globally and we can be in the same space watching this movie together and be, whispering snide comments about it, and people who are further away would have to get closer to hear what we're saying. It's amazing. Get one. They're $300. It's incredible. I have so many game recommendations of things I'd like to do with you with it. I socially have restarted a bunch of things this last week, being back in Dallas and trying to think about what my life looks like here. Started climbing again, which is a ton of fun. Started doing yoga again. Went to a meditation class in person for the first time with a friend of mine who I went to school with. Went dancing, country western dancing, 2 or 3 times. It's a type of dance that I hadn't done before. And also went to a monster jam with Sophia and Patrick and Patrick's grandfather. It was so loud. The trucks are so big. And restarting these things has me thinking about if that's ethically okay. I feel like I'm going along with what's okay in the culture that I'm in, and I'm hearing these stories of people living in Canada and the UK. The UK just went on lockdown again last Thursday. And I'm thinking about what is my personal responsibility of acting against the culture that I'm in. I feel like I was acting very differently when I was living in Cleveland over the summer, that they were sort of taking COVID much more seriously. And being in Dallas again, and people sort of having a very blasé attitude about it, it's something I'm chewing on of if I can justify restarting these things when there are so many people who are still locked at home. Is it my responsibility as an individual to act in a correct way? And by that process, try to figure out what the correct way to act is, which is non-trivial. I'm not a virologist. I'm not someone who studies pathogens, or epidemiologist, I think, is someone who studies epidemics. I don't know. I can take cues from credible experts, but at the end of the day, if everyone around me in the culture that I'm in is acting a certain way, I feel like it would take a disproportionate amount of mental energy for me to feel justified in acting against that. That's sort of what I'm thinking. Less critically, less pessimistically, it's been so much fun getting back into these things and seeing how they're adapted with mixed success for COVID. What I'm specifically curious about is, will there be a difference in outcome of states that seem to be sacrificing public health for the economy, like Texas, versus different countries like Canada and the UK that seem to be sacrificing economy for health? It's an interesting question and a sensitive one. I'm sure I've said something to upset people in talking about this, but it's so important, because if I'm not talking about it here, then I'm just going to do something and not tell you about it. So like, I would like to be having these conversations. Please tell me if you think I'm being an asshole. That's something that I would like to have a conversation about. Okay, on the aim of personal improvements, I'm curious about life coaches, and that's something I was talking about last month. I hired a fitness coach just for an initial consultation. I don't think that's going to make sense. Offered me some great advice and give me some benchmarks of things, but for the price and the minimum commitment he wants, there's other experiments I'd like to do lower. Also hired a dating coach and someone to review my dating profile, and got useful feedback from that. I'm curious. I have the call with the dating coach immediately after recording this video. I'm curious about that. I think this type of decision of outsourcing things that I am curious about to people, paying experts for their time in order to jumpstart progress that I'm able to make, is a decision that I'd like to make much more freely. I think that's a way to spend money that very consistently makes a lot more money and life improvements. Let's talk about projects. One of my goals for last week was to restart Textbooks Please. I did it. I recoded it in this very clever serverless architecture. You can now go to textbooksplease.com, search for any book you want, and then I will show you the best price for that book. Look at this. You can get it for $1 from Amazon. Amazing. Another goal from last month was to transition, just in a beta stage, the Fileinbox architecture to be serverless and work through Firebase. I did it. It's very ugly, but it works. You can drag and drop it there, and look at that, 100% downloaded. That's how you know. That's how you know the file was downloaded. That's the focus for this next month. I'd like to clean this up. Specifically, I have a number of hours I'd like to spend on this. I sort of cheated on this of just like getting the minimum done necessary that I'm not super happy with. Another goal of mine from last week was to push forward my video editor. And I said that I was going to edit that video with the video editor that I made. And I didn't. I lied to you. I just edited it with Final Cut Pro, which, after learning tricks for how to do the type of editing I want to do faster, specifically multicam editing, so that when I make a cut, I just click on the angle that I want, I think it's going to be good enough. And it's certainly going to be a much lower time investment than it was going to be to build my own video editor. Ridiculous. So I think for the future, I just ordered the new Apple Silicon MacBook Pros. I'm so excited about them. Oh my gosh, they're so fast. I think for the future of video editing, it's going to look like continue doing it myself, build out that process, learn more about how to do it on Apple Silicon, which instead of Final Cut Pro crashing 3 times for every video, it should be buttery smooth. And then I think the next step from that would be outsource it to another person and pay a person to do video editing. I think that's going to be a type of outsourcing that's going to be much easier than outsourcing coding, which is sort of it's more difficult work to outsource. What else? The project with Trigg went so well. It was completely outsourced. I spent almost no time on it last month. He did, I think, 5 or 6 shows completely without me, and the trick worked mostly. In the ways that it didn't work, I don't feel responsible for it not working. So great success there. Fun toys. I have a new microphone. I'm not sure if it's working right now, but it's hovering right above me. This is a look that I've wanted for YouTube videos of like the microphone is out of frame and I still have very crystal clear audio. The Rode NTG. It's a very cool microphone. Let's talk about productivity. I started a weekly podcast with my friend Chris. I think it's Atchard. I forgot to ask him today. We just recorded episode number 3. I would feel very bad if it is not pronounced Chris Atchard. But this has been great because it's a weekly check-in for me to get back on track. I've had this monthly video that I've been doing that's been great, and I've had a mastermind that I've been doing the last year and change of checking in once a month. And having a check-in once a week where I'm only talking about work. In this, I talk about like all kinds of things holistically, has been very good and clarifying for pushing forward the specific project of I'd like to be making more money in my business. So if you've been enjoying these monthly updates, but you're thinking to yourself, I sure would like to hear more from Christian, but only about work, then you can go to Makers.dev. Makers.dev. and hear about me and Chris. Chris has a very similar business. His product is called meetingplace.com. It's a competitor to Meetup. If you're frustrated with something with Meetup, meetingplace.com might be able to fix your problem. What's next? There's an app I've been using that I got on a recommendation from Leanna Patch that lets me tag an arbitrary number of things that I did in a day. So I can track, did I meditate today? Did I exercise? Did I go climbing? Did I sleep well? And then it helps me correlate and notice patterns at a higher level. And I feel like having this app is like having a parent of able to notice patterns at a higher level of, oh, you rated today a 2 out of 9. I don't know why it's out of 9. I do know why it's out of 9. You rated today a 2 out of 9. Maybe that was because yesterday you didn't go to bed on time. Maybe you should go to bed on time more. This feels like a great way to be shifting my focus more towards this long-term goal that I feel like doing this monthly video and doing the weekly podcast also shifts my frame out of the current moment, out of the trying to get immediate gratification to these longer term goals. We got some exciting health updates this month. I have been loving this system for doing the goal tracking. I talked about this a little bit last week. I've continued doing it. It's great. I rewrite all of my goals for the last 8 days. I love it. Just wanted to include that nothing has changed. I like that very much. I have surgery tomorrow. That is my very first surgery. My first time going under anesthesia. My first time having nitrous oxide. I am terrified. I channeled that terror in 2 ways. One was healthier than the other. The first way was watching a whole bunch of videos of surgeries of people getting their wisdom teeth extracted, which I need to do. I think I've had a lot of pushback on that of like, don't think about it, don't stress, you're overthinking it, you're going to stress yourself out. And if I had the choice of not overthinking it, I would absolutely do that. And in several contexts of my life right now, I don't have that choice. Either I'm going to overthink it and just sort of spiral into my own doom, or I'm going to overthink it and channel that into actually learning something. So I know a lot about how to extract a wisdom tooth now. You slice open the gum. You might have to drill out around the tooth. You might have to, if it's covered by bone, drill out the bone on top of it. And then you might have to slice the tooth in half and break it up in pieces. And then you take it out with a lift. There's just like a little pry that you stick in and you lift up. And then there's a huge empty space. You rinse that out with saline. And then you stuff it with gauze. Sometimes you put a different material in it that might help regrow a bone. I think it's going to be fine. So that was the less productive way. The second, more productive way was the discharge instructions that they gave me were terrible. It was like this logic puzzle of, if I'm trying to answer the question, okay, it's day 3 and I'm hungry, what do I do? In the instructions they gave me, I would have to spend probably 20 minutes at full capacity, like not without the disadvantage of, without the disadvantage of having a surgery and being hungry and in pain at the same time. At full capacity, it takes me 20 minutes to parse these 3 pages of instructions and figure out, okay, well, on day 3, I can eat these foods, and oh, but I need to rinse out, it's referenced way up here, and oh, I need to make sure that I'm taking the painkiller after I take that. So I flattened out these instructions so that if you're trying to answer the question, on day 3, what can I eat? You go to day 3, you say, if you feel hungry, I eat these soft foods, and then I rinse my mouth gently with warm salt water after eating. So much easier. This is a topic I'm very interested in of sort of related to human-centered design, of how you design things for people instead of myopically, egocentrically from your perspective. The instructions from the surgeon have all these, look at this, it's stars and highlighted in different colors and bold and all caps, and you just know that from their perspective, like they had a patient who, I don't know, someone who used a straw in the first 24 hours and had a problem. And so their solution to this was, let's highlight that in blue so that they definitely see it. Okay, no, because now this looks like a ransom note of all the different, look at this, yellow and italic and underlined and awful. But it's from their perspective, from the perspective of the doctor, that makes perfect sense. And then, from the perspective of the doctor also, you're not going to be complaining about, patient compliance is so low. Don't these patients don't they want to get better? Don't they have their own health in mind? Well, you're not helping them. By complaining that the patients aren't complying, you're pushing the problem on the patient, as opposed to recognizing, okay, there's something going wrong in this communication of what we want the patient to do. Let's try to fix that ourselves by making it easier to comply. I feel like this is also sort of the tactic that James Clear would take from Atomic Habits of making it as easy as possible for your future self to follow the instructions that you want. So it was a very good exercise and a good channeling of my surgery anxiety that I have tomorrow at noon. Okay. I had a productive conversation with a few people online. There's a sentiment around this election of that people who are supporting the opposite party are nuts. That they and it doesn't really matter which party you have. Well, I guess it does. In this context, there's a sentiment from the left that people who support Donald Trump are crazy and militant and nonsensical. And as a litmus test in my life, whenever I hear that sentiment, it raises a flag for me of that I don't understand the other person's perspective yet. I work very hard to, in moments when I disagree with someone, to be able to express their idea back to them better than they expressed it to me. So trying to elicit the yes, exactly response. So when someone says something that I disagree with, I take a moment and I pause and I breathe. I've probably had a visceral reaction of like, oh my God, you're bad and you're on the opposite team. And instead of that, I take a breath and I say, okay, I think what you're saying is, and then I restate their phrase, is that right? And I keep doing that until I say, yes, exactly. You understand me. And then we can move forward because we sort of have this mutual understanding. And what you're doing, if you don't do that, is just fighting. You're just jockeying for power and status, and you're not going to get anywhere. So Sam Harris tweeted something about this immediately afterwards of him going through a similar process trying to understand people's support of Donald Trump. And I love his analysis, and I think it gave me a lot of insight not only into people who support Donald Trump, but into myself of I go through that exact same thought process. He outlines that the message from the left is very shame-based. It's based in you are responsible for the sins of your father, and especially if you're a cis white male, you are sort of instantly assumed to be misogynistic and racist and all of these other things. And so if that's the message you're getting from the left, and it's a polarized world where you sort of have to push yourself to one team, that's a much safer position to take. And the message that you're getting from Donald Trump is that, like, it's okay to be vain and arrogant and still think highly of yourself. Interacting with Donald Trump would make me feel much better. That makes perfect sense. And so that's a situation that I frequently find myself in. And I think the deeper lesson here is, like, if you disagree with someone, shaming them into acting differently. There was a church service I went to last year that talked about this of calling someone racist is not productive. They may very well be racist from your perspective, but the only thing that you're accomplishing by calling someone racist, as far as your relationship is concerned, is separating you, is making this a tribalistic argument of I'm showing you that I'm against you. And that's not true. Like, we're all humans. We're all on the same planet. We're all trying our best. Like, definitionally, if I had gone through the same life experiences as someone who I disagree with, I would have their same position. And it's I sort of like to view it as other people are me in alternate realities, sort of like Rick and Morty. So there's an opportunity for growth and self-understanding there that I think you miss out on if you're name calling and saying that you don't understand someone else's perspective as a way of dismissing understanding them, as opposed to learning. Man, we're getting deep. I feel like I'm going to get in trouble for this one. We're diving into some topics. Anyway, next month my focus is going to be on Ali Abdaal's YouTuber course. I'm so excited about it. Ali Abdaal is a very successful YouTuber. His systems and productivity are just nailed in so well. I'm so inspired by him. And this is going to be a very serious course about how to start publishing videos at a rate of 1 per week. Specifically, I'd like to be moving into the type of video that's like a YouTube guru style video of I've put a lot of work into productivity and sleep, and I would love to be translating that in a approachable way for YouTube. That the next time I have a conversation with someone about sleep and how I cured my sleep onset insomnia, I would love to just say, "Oh, watch this video. It's very well produced and it lays out everything very logically. It's sort of like a video essay." So I'm excited about that. This is my goal for time next week on Fileinbox. I may fall short of that this next week because of the surgery, but I would like to be spending at least 180 minutes per week on Fileinbox, pushing forward this serverless transition. I'd also like to implement tags on midnight. This is my time tracker. Right now I'm having to manually total up how much time I'm spending per week. And so to make it easier to track that for Fileinbox, I would like that to happen automatically. What else? I'd like to redo my website. I'm not, this is old. What's the phrase? The cobbler's children wear no shoes. For my own website, I feel like I've neglected it for a while, and I'd just like to spruce it up and update these so that I can switch to Tailwind, which would be great. Also, I might launch another podcast. I've been having some fantastic conversations with my friend Shai Schechter about stoicism and mindfulness, and we recorded one of our conversations, and it just went so well. I'm very excited about it. And I don't know what I'm going to call it. I had a suggestion that I could call it GenCasts. I'm thinking maybe this feels very vain and narcissistic, but maybe like the Christian Jenko show. But I would love an outlet for being able to have these longer form conversations with people. Of specifically, the interaction that I want to be able to have is if I read a book and I was impacted by the book, I would love to reach out to the author and say, "Hey, I have a show that you are interested in being on because it has a similar audience as you, and it's a show geared towards the type of conversation that you like to have. Would you like to be on my show? And here's the pipeline of how we do that." And then I have a whole machine of breaking that up and syndicating the content. And in the same way that I would like to be sharing the ideas of personal productivity, I would love to be sharing the conversations that I'm having. That's it. That was my October-ish. Have a great November-ish, and I'll see you next month.